Before Indu starts her talk, I cannot help but express a few of my own personal thoughts about her because she is indeed a very rare occurrence in the modern world of yoga and Ayurveda. I say rare occurrence because there are a lot of people who are selling yoga, who are selling Ayurveda as a commodity. But she retains the original, classical, traditional base, yet she explains it and expresses it in the contemporary manner. And the way she's able to tie tradition and modernity together makes her stand out in the huge crowd of yoga and Ayurveda. Of course, I consider her my dear younger sister in yoga. And one part of the biodata that was not updated is recently Indian Yoga Association has been pleased to honor her as a Yoga Chikitsa Acharya, which is so apt for the work she's doing. So looking forward to listening to you, my dear Indu. Over to you now.
Thank you so much, Anna, for having me. And thank you so much, Balaji, for sharing and saying that it's not enough. I would say we can shorten it further, the bio. And we can just introduce by saying she's a student of yoga. And that is just simply enough because there is nothing else that matters. Please accept my greetings to those of you who are able to join the live stream and also to those who will be watching it later. It is my pleasure as well as my dharma to share the limited I have explored in this subject. When Anna and the organization Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth that has organized this wonderful online faculty development program approached about the theme of this inclusive nature of yoga, the only thing that came to my mind is Ayurveda. Because I personally think that Ayurveda provides the context to the content that is yoga. Yoga, which is both a practice as well as a state. But in order to reach that state, there are practices, there are those upayas, there are those techniques, but is really the power in the technique? What is it that can really allow us to explore that state that is yoga, that is promised in the various texts, that is promised by the gurus, that is promised by the rishis and the rishikas? How do we move towards that state in a way that is practical, in a way that is tangible, in a way that is experiential on an everyday basis? That I personally feel is so important. It is wonderful that we practice yoga as a sangha, as a community together. That is inspirational. But when we really talk about yoga, it is one-to-one relationship. It is our relationship with ourselves. And in order to be present in that relationship, there has to be space for contemplation, for self-inquiry, for listening. Our yoga practices has almost become a monologue, a set of things to do, where we write down that, okay, this is my set routine and I'm going to do that. And that's wonderful. I think there is a certain tapasya about it. There is a certain structure about it, which is important. But I think after a while, there has to be space in that structure for the individual. Because when we bring the practices in integration with the individual, which means the physical being, the emotional being, the pranic being, the karmic being, the practices are not just practices, they interact, they communicate with us at different layers. We can consider them, there are so many ways to look at it. We can see from the perspective of koshas. Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vinyanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. When we bring the practices close to us, which means that we experiment with them or maybe explore them, there is a certain reaction or response from the body. And the body speaks. But if we do not give space to listen to the body, then we simply just follow a routine. And there is one of the, verses that comes to my mind that is from a tantric text, Vijnana Bhairav, and that talks about to keep that childlike state of mind. And that childlike state of mind can only be present when we are present. Yes, we have learned, for example, Surya Namaskara. It doesn't matter which lineage from in present context, the example that I'm trying to give. Sometimes when we practice it as a routine, just as an exercise, it's almost like we are in the future. We are not in the present. I already know what is the next step. I already, in my mind, I'm already thinking after Surya Namaskara, I'm going to do this. Where is that childlike curiosity that I do not know what's going to happen in Surya Namaskara? As I will bring my palms together, I don't know what else will come together in my body, in my mind, in my breath. Or where is that curiosity that as I bend forward to touch the feet or surrender to the gravity or lean forward, how is this leaning forward, this stretch, this forward fold, if I may say, is interacting with my physical body? Now, Ayurveda brings that context. It sees the individual as the coming together of the Panchatattva, the Panchikaran, which is the earth, water, fire, air, ether, Prithvi, Apa, Agni, Maruta, Akasha. The coming together. And each one of us has a unique constitution, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And therefore, each one of us has a unique response or reaction. Let me give you some examples, because sometimes I think examples might bring a little bit of more clarity or our ability to understand or digest it. Let's say, since we're talking about the standing forward fold or the third step in the Surya Namaskara, the focus becomes the lower back region, the lower abdominal region. And with gravity, the energy moves towards the arms, towards the head. Now, the doshas that may be held or that may be accumulating in that region, as you lean forward, might react or might respond. When they react, there are some of the ways in which it will react. A, it may have a reaction or response on the physical body. Now, how do we read the physical body? In the physical body, which is the body of doshas, actually is the body of gunas. What are these gunas? These gunas are certain experiences, which are the 10 pair of opposites, which means we may feel warmth or we may feel cooling. We may feel stagnation or we may feel a sense of movement. We may feel a sense of denseness, compactness, or a sense of hollowness or shallowness. Likewise, roughness, smoothness, our body responds. And these are the preliminary forms of the doshas and preliminary forms of the elements. And this, in modern science, we call it interoception, to be able to be in touch with the body and listen to its cues. Now, if we pay attention that, oh, my body is really heating too much, or I feel a sense of denseness, or I feel a sense of overstimulation, then we can choose to do the next step, or in the very same step that we are, introduce some kriya, or introduce some pranayama, or introduce some practice to pacify the doshas. Now, if we were listening to our pranamaya kosha, we would know that as we fold, mold, and hold the body, there is an interaction with the breath. There is an interaction with how our lungs, which part of our lungs, which lobe of our lung is becoming tensed. And that may become that feedback we will be able to listen if we actually practice Surya Namaskara with mantras. Because the moment you're bending forward and you're reciting a mantra, maybe Gayatri mantra, or maybe the 12 mantras that go with the Surya Namaskara, or just the pranava, Om, we will observe that, oh, my voice here is becoming shaky or feeble. Right there, there is a feedback from the body through our voice that maybe I need to work on building my lung capacity. This is really, this particular posture or this particular position in this moment is really, instead of multiplying or expanding my prana, it is really eating up my prana. And I can feel that in my voice, I can feel that in my energy level, or maybe in the shift in the nostril dominance. So yoga to me is nothing but awareness, a constant awareness of what is going on at the level of your physical body, what is going on at the level of your pranic body, be it the energy level, be it the prana is nothing but nada, and nada becomes your sound, and the sound also becomes your breath. So your voice gives a feedback into all these, may I say, the nada prakriti or nada vikriti of our body, of our state of mind. And maybe right there, there is a cue, depending upon how my breath is tensing, or if my breath activity, nostril activity has shifted from right to left, or maybe my breath, even if you're not incorporating mantra, but you're paying attention to your breath, maybe I feel heaviness in my breath. Maybe I feel shallowness in my breath. Maybe my breath has become rapid. Maybe there is sound in my breathing. All these are cues into which dosha and which guna is becoming aggravated. For example, if my breath becomes uneven and with sound, that is the sign of vata dosha. If my breath becomes rapid and there is a lot of heat and irritability in my state of mind, then that's a sign of pitta dosha. Or my breath becomes heavy, stagnant, and there is a lot of effort, a sign of kapha dosha. So if we start paying attention, the way at least I have been taught, my dear friends, in yoga by my teachers, is to observe, to explore, and not just to blindly follow. And in exploration, this is the body. This is the breath that is given to us. And that is projected on the screen of the mind. And that takes us to the third layer, that is the manomaya kosha. What is the state of your mind? Is your mind becoming scattered or gathered? Is it becoming clouded or clear? These are all the state of the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. Are you practicing with the sattvic state of mind? Irrespective of how you feel in your body, there is an opportunity to observe that what has happened to the state of my mind in this position, or with this pranayama, or with this mudra, and how can I bring it back to sattva? Even further, how can I bring it to nirguna? But at least from rajas and tamas towards sattva, because sometimes it is the rajas, the impatience, that is guiding the practice. And it is because of this impatience, we jump to the next step instead of staying in the present. So right there, there is a moment of contemplation, of awareness. We can take it one step deeper, manomaya kosha, and explore our emotional state. Am I feeling an excitement? Am I feeling sadness? Am I experiencing anger? Am I experiencing aversion? These are all rasas. And rasas are also connected to the taste, the sixth taste: sweet, sour, bitter, pungent, astringent, salty. And each of the taste is again connected with one of the 9 emotions, the navrasas, the nine main emotions. And how is it connecting back to the yoga practice? Now, this is all context that I'm bringing through Ayurveda. Our tongue, that is the rasana, the tongue that experiences the taste, if you really pay attention during the practice of any kriya, whether it is a mudra or pranayama or asana or yoga nidra or mantra or Shatkriyas, any of the cleansing practices, irrespective, you may experience a change of taste in your palate, even though you're not eating anything, because every practice is interacting with your emotional state, with your internal organs, the liver, the gallbladder, the colon, the heart, the thyroid, and each of these internal organs, based on the enzymes, the acids, the hormones that they are storing, they are also connected to a taste. So right there is an opportunity to connect with either our internal organs, or B, our emotional state, just observing what is happening. And right there, as we observe, just observation is not enough. Then observation leads to discernment. Discernment leads to, which is Viveka Khyati, which leads to the next step. What would be the right practice to do? Or how may I calibrate this practice? Or sometimes during the asana or the kriya, we are going to Vijnanamaya Kosha now, we forget, why am I doing the practice? Am I in the state of sankalpa or am I in the state of vikalpa? So many times we don't even give a focus to our practice. Now, ideally, the goal of yoga is yoga. Of course, for the time being, it could be healthy body, it could be calm mind, it could be more energy level, it could be more focus, it could be good sleep. But in the larger scheme of things, if we really see the promise of yoga, we are making a bad deal with yoga, because it has so much more to offer, that these things are, if I may say, buy one, get one free. That, you can practice yoga and all these things, or as my teacher says, these are the side effects of yoga, that you can have good health and you can have good energy levels and good sleep and so on and so forth. But really, my dear friends, the promise of yoga is yoga. And for that, it is very important to have a sankalpa. And most of the time, our mind, our buddhi is either kshipta, distracted, or vimuda. It is just not in that ekagra, in one pointedness. And what brings one pointedness is sankalpa. What is the purpose? To remind yourself, when we sow that seed right in the beginning of the practice, that what is my sankalpa today? In that moment when our mind wanders with a narrative, it looks at the wall is a different color, the color reminds of an object, of a situation, of a person. The mind wanders off, it goes into vikalpas. If we have a sankalpa, it allows us to come back. The practice is like, now I'm using a little bit of a crude word, but it's like surgery. You peel off the layers, but if we are not even aware of the great potential and there is an aspect of Ayurveda which is more like a medical science, and that may not be for everybody to study. But there is an aspect of Ayurveda that is essential, non-negotiable, practical. It is for each one of us, but especially for yoga practitioners, because that is what brings insight into when my breath is scattered, or when I am in a rajasic state of mind, or when I have vata vikruti in my body. Then the same nadi shodhan that is practiced with Visamavritti, 2:1 or 1:2, should become Samavritti, because that irons out those creases and that roughness, that rajasic state that Vata Vikruti presents. So see, right there, because of the Ayurvedic context, now we have a meaningful practice of Nadi Shodhanam, the cleansing of the nadis. What are we cleansing the nadis of? We are cleansing the nadis of dosha vikrutis, vata, pitta, kapha. We are cleansing the nadis of guna imbalances, rajas and tamas. We are cleansing the nadis of the rasas, of the emotions, the channels, the manovahasrotas. They are sometimes, when we suppress, repress, postpone working with emotions, those unresolved thoughts and emotions, they also occupy or block the prana nadis. So this is what we are doing the shodhanam of when we are saying nadi shodhanam. The manovrittis, the chitta vrittis, the dosha vikrutis, the guna imbalances. But first we need to listen. We don't just begin nadi shodhanam. First observe which nostril is dominant, right or left. Am I in a state of prakriti or vikruti, balance or imbalance? If I'm in a state of vikruti, is it vata, pitta or kapha? Is it rajas or tamas? What is going on? Because then my practice will become precise. Bhagavad Gita tells us, yoga karmashu kaushalam. That skill is important. Yoga is a skill or skill in action or skillful action. This is the skill. The yoga practices are the same, but we change. The time of the day changes, the lunar phase changes, the seasons change, even the length of the day and night changes as per the equinox or solstice. Based on that macrocosmic rhythm, that Brahmanda, Spanda, our individual rhythm, microcosmic rhythm also changes. There is without doubt, there is an interaction between the macrocosmic rhythm on the microcosmic rhythm. And the mirror of that is our breath, our body, digestion, sleep, energy level. If we learn how to observe that if I am experiencing rajasic pravritti, if I'm experiencing a rajasic state of mind, overwhelmed, confused, overexcited, hyper state of mind, confused, conflicted state of mind, then I can understand that it is a vata kind of vikruti. Then I can choose the ratio 1:1 in Nadi Shodhanam. Versus if I'm experiencing rajasic but pitta kind of vikruti, anger, irritation, inflammation, too much heat in the body, too much heat in the mind, too much heat in the emotion, then maybe I need to exhale longer because it will have a calming. The longer the exhalation, smoother, even quieter, the more calm and cooling effect it will have on the body and mind. So in that case, the Nadi Shodhanam is now done with 1:2 ratio. Versus if I feel stagnation, heaviness, drowsiness, procrastination, dullness in the body, breath, mind, then I can understand it is tamasic or it is kapha-like vikruti. Then my ratio of Nadi Shodhanan will become 2:1 because if I focus on longer inhalation, it will warm up the body. It will heat up the body. So based on our reflection, our awareness, our contemplation, our being present in the practice, we can bring changes to the practice. We can make the practice tailored to the individual that we are. And once we learn how to do that for ourselves, I personally feel that we are in a better position to guide others. We are in a better position to give the cues instead of being confused. If you are a yoga teacher or a yoga instructor or yoga chikitsak, yoga therapist, it gives us better tools to work with either an individual or in the group because now our yoga is informed by Ayurveda. They are called sister sciences for a reason. They both share a common philosophy, that is Sankhya Darshan. They both follow the guidelines of Panchabhutas and the Three Gunas. And this is the language that we need to learn. We can talk about our body as muscles and bones and joints and ligaments, and all of that is true. But why none of the yogic texts talk using that language? Why the language is doshas and nadis and agni and gunas and chakras? Why the language is sankalpa and vikalpa? Why it is not just brain, but manas, buddhi, chitta, ahamkara? Because that context is Ayurveda. that gives to the content, that is yoga. So it's so important. I mean, this is just one example that came to my mind of Nadi Shodhanam. Let's take another example of asana. Let's randomly, it's coming to my mind, Nauka asana, which is called boat pose. Now, first of all, the moment I say Nauka asana, the first thing that comes to my mind is, have you ever seen a boat living its dharma while staying anchored to the shore? Every boat is supposed to rock. Why, when we go into Nauka Asana, we want to be a very stagnant, still boat? Let it rock, let it move. That induces rhythm in the muscles. That induces rhythm in the leg muscles that allows to push the stagnant blood back to the heart for oxygenation. It's so important. That is how in Nauka Asana, the Nabhi, the Manipur chakra, the digestive system organs become the focus. That is what keeps the boat steady, that center. That is our digestive system organs. That is our Nabhi. That is our Manipur chakra. That is our gut. That needs to be strong. But we all know, in order to gain that kind of strength, we all have to go through forming and storming. We all have to be broken several times so that shakiness, allow it. But I know I am changing the direction. I love this subject, my dear friends. This is not just a profession. This is my life. This is a promise to my gurus to keep sharing to the best of my abilities. Sometimes I get passionate. Coming back to the example of Nauka Asana, that let's say we are practicing Nauka Asana. And while practicing Nauka Asana, every asana has an epicenter. In this asana, the epicenter is the Nabhi or Manipur chakra or your gut or digestive system organs. And to be precise, even in digestive system organs, it is the small intestine. When we are in Nauka Asana, let's say, if I am vigilant, if I am present, if I am aware, and if I understand that Ayurveda gives context to yoga, I am observing what is the change of taste in my palate. And I observe, oh, the taste in my palate, I feel stickiness, stringy saliva in my mouth. Now, what is the epicenter? Nabhi. Now, stickiness or stringy saliva, it's a sign of kapha dosha. Now, kapha could be related to the physical body, kapha stagnation, where in the digestive system organs, which would lead to manda agni or low digestive fire, which if we observe, we will know that, oh, after having meals, I feel heaviness, it stays, I feel heavy for a long time, or I feel sleepy. But now the asana is also telling you that as you work on your small intestine, on your abdomen through Nauka Asana, if the taste in your mouth becomes sticky or stringy saliva, then it's a sign of kapha dosha vikriti. What can I do? Now I can combine Nauka Asana with Kapalabhati Shatkriya. Now, Kapalbhati is specifically to move the kapha vikriti from the GI tract. So now as I combine this kriya, after observing, now the body has responded or reacted, and now I'm making it a dialogue instead of a monologue. I said, okay, my dear broad body, the message received. So then you respond. How do I know that the practice is working? The palate becomes unctuous. There is salivation, which is a sign of parasympathetic response, which is a sign of the sweet taste in the mouth. Salivation is a sign of Prithvi and Jal Tattva, which in Ayurveda, the combination of it is Kapha dosha, Poshak Kapha, nurturing, nourishing energy. So the moment there is salivation in the mouth, now you know the asana has done its job. Or if the mouth became sour, or if there is sour taste or salty taste in the mouth, now that's a sign of pitta dosha. Or maybe you feel extreme heat. Now in that case, you can combine it with a mantra. I can practice the Chandra Gayatri mantra. I can do the recitation of Chandra Gayatri, which is cooling, calming energy. Or I can simply focus on longer exhalation during the Nauka Asana. So all these things, or I can even combine it, staying in Nauka Asana, combine it with Shitali Pranayama. And in that straw of the tongue, as you drink, as you gulp in the cooling air, that cooling air goes into that cooling effect goes into the GI tract, and you exhale out the heat. So basically, we are responding. Or let's say, let me complete this. Let's say the mouth became dry. It became parched, as if I'm thirsty. Now, most of the time, we keep a water bottle by the side of the mat instead of listening to the body. Only 2% water level has to drop in order for us to feel thirsty. We don't need to jump to our water bottles. We can recirculate the fluids of our body. So we can hold Jal Mudra in our hand, or we can do this practice. Rotate the tongue around the teeth, and that will activate the salivation. These are just few of the examples, my dear friends, that come to my mind. There is so much more regarding every mudra, regarding every pranayama, regarding every asana, every kriya in yoga, that once we learn the true language of our body and understand it in context, we can practice in a way that works. We don't have to mindlessly just practice a particular kriya 10 times, 11 times, 108 times. It's important to be discerning with your prana shakti. It's very important to be discerning with the prana shakti, how to utilize it, how to bring these philosophical concepts. Yogast kuru karmani, do the karma by staying established in the state of yoga. What is the state of yoga but discernment, but awareness? And this awareness allow us to listen to our body and fine tune it for each one of us. In my limited experience in this lifetime of this practice, of this subject, of this philosophy, I have found it to be extremely beneficial, because sometimes we may not need 1 hour. Sometimes we may not need all those asanas. Sometimes we may need just the sukshma kriyas. It's so important to observe what is disturbing the homeostasis, what is creating disequilibrium. Is it the body? Is it the breath? Is it the mind? And then use the tool accordingly. I can keep going on and on and on and on, but I'm going to hold. And, I would like to share something that will benefit you. So I'll open up for Q&A. You can write the question in the chat, or I do not know how does it go, Anna, but, you can write it in the chat, and I can pick it up and share my thoughts about it.
This was truly illuminating, Indu, and the way you have expressed the development of introspective awareness as an essential tool to find with precision the specific aspects we need in our sadhana. I think that is really brought out amazingly well. There is a first question from Divya on kindly explain the headstand and handstand asana. So I think she means the Shirsasana, Sarvangasana, Viparita your favorite and my favorite, and how this is related to the Ayurvedic point of view. So I think all the Viparita postures and how it is related, a question from Divya. So we could start with that while we have other questions.
Okay, now. Okay, thank you so much, Divya, for sharing your point of inquiry. See, first of all, I personally like to call asanas by their Sanskrit names, even though I understand the English names. But I feel that sometimes when we just bank upon the practice in its original language, that itself can give us so much cues. For example, Sarvanga Asana. Now, if I call it shoulder stand, then it just becomes a position, shoulder stand. Versus when I say Sarvanga, automatically it tells us that the purpose of this asana is that it really creates a circulation of prana. It really creates a circulation of prana in all the angas, in all parts of the body, in all internal organs, in all regions of the body, and it gathers that energy. As we can see how this posture is, it gathers that energy in the Vishuddha. See, I like to use the terms which are like terms that are from the text. Instead of saying thyroid, I would like to say that it gathers the energy, because yoga is a practice that is done from the sukshma sharira, subtle body. The physical body follows. It may or may not look like an exact shoulder stand per se, but our pranic body, we can visualize our pranic body with perfection in that position. And the pranas start to move. So what are we doing? All the pranas, the panch pranas, among the panch prana, apana and vyana from the peripheries of the body, and the samana from the abdomen, and the prana from the chest. We are gathering all these prana in the udana region, in the throat, transforming all these prana into udana. So that itself, this center is considered to be the center of communication. Communication comes with clarity. So that communication is not about how do I communicate with you. The most important thing is, how do I communicate with myself? Do I have the ability to see the self with the capital S? So the way I look at Sarvangasana is not something which will give a good massage to the thyroid, which I don't think there is a doubt that it will help bring circulation in that region. But I see it as a position, as an asana that works on every single part of the body, has the ability to gather like a laser beam all the pranas into udana. And then, again, why, first of all, why are we doing Sarvangasana? The first point, it is not that we can learn about every single asana, but we don't have to do everything. We may not need it. We have to be so discerning in how to use our body's energy. Maybe we can concentrate on the throat. If someone has a good dharana, good concentration ability, just focus on the throat. Or we can practice a mudra to bring the awareness, like Shankha mudra, to bring awareness in the throat region, or Linga mudra to bring awareness to the throat region. I am a big supporter of how to minimize the expense of energy. So I like to think, how do I achieve the same without moving a muscle? So that's what I would like to say.
That was a beautiful perspective. And I think what you also hinted on is the power of visualizing the subtle performance of the technique. So maybe you would like to just expand on that subtle aspect, the sukshma part.
Anna, one of the first things I learned from my teachers when I was 19 is, before you start a practice, first visualize it. Because the moment we visualize it, where there is bhavana, first of all, then we are engaging the manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha merely by visualizing or sensing it. And then we also remove fixation from the physical body. And the second thing is, the moment there is visualization or sensing, automatically our sukshma sharira is already there. So that really removes that fixation, or sometimes even that feeling of disappointment in yoga, that, oh, my body is not able to fold, mold, and hold the same way. And that circles like chakrasana, those triangles, trikonasana, that we are trying to make with our physical body, I hope we understand that they are made with the subtle body. Those circles and squares and triangles, yes, our energy moves like that. But in the pranic sharira, in the sukshma sharira, let's understand that yoga, I will say that, is a work in, not a workout. Let's keep that in mind, that the main purpose of yoga was not vyayama, was not exercise. Of course, it gives us everything. It's such a unique tool. It has something for everything. It has something for the physical body, something for the mind, something for the emotions. But the real goal of yoga is yoga. And all of that is hidden in the subtle practices.
Beautiful, beautiful. The goal of yoga is yoga. I think that is a very important takeaway for everyone, because we have got so used to yoga for something.
Yes.
And it's always yoga for hypertension, yoga for better muscles, yoga for better sleep. We forget it's yoga for the sake of yoga alone. And I think it may have been, I don't know if it was Swami Veda Bharati who mentioned the side effects are what come. I tend to use the term side benefit, because side effect is more medical. So I say all medicines have side effects, whereas yoga has side benefits. So this is just a phrase that comes. There is a question from Sudarshan Das: how to balance the three dosha with the help of yoga, and how can I recognize what type my body is?
Sudarshan ji, you have already reached that first point. That first point is to become curious. If we don't even know that there is this information available, then how do we even search for it? But the first point of curiosity, that is closer in yoga. In yoga, it is koham, who am I, right? It is an extension of that. Who am I? What am I made up of? If I am this physical body, what is this physical body? What is my unique prakriti, vikriti? I think it, first of all, at a very simple, basic level, we can start becoming aware of these gunas in everything. We can start moving from head down to feet. Are my hairs dry and rough and wiry? Vata-like, are they straight and silky and oily? Pitta-like, are they thick and lush? Kapha-like, is my skin rough and dry? Vata-like, is it prone to rashes, inflammation? Pitta-like, is it prone to stagnation, water retention? Kapha-like, how are my joints? Do I sense stiffness in my joints? Is there roughness? Is there popping, cracking in my joints? That is vata-like. Is there pain and inflammation, redness around my joints? Pitta-like. Is there stagnation, heaviness, swelling around my joints? Kapha-like. We can go through every function in every part and every tissue of the body to kind of contemplate that overall, how is my body responding or reacting? Each one of us is born with a prakriti, janma prakriti. And that is what is the balanced constitution, and we are trying to come back to that balance. But with the changes in our lifestyle, with diet, with stress, with changes of seasons, time of the day, we most of the time stay in the state of vikriti. But the moment we bring awareness, we can keep moving, keep calibrating vikriti to prakriti, vikriti to prakriti. So I think finding a teacher, not just a book, finding a teacher, finding an acharya, finding a Vaidya who can tell you what is your constitution, studying more about it. These are the ways I would say to go about it. What I can also suggest, if you would like to, this is a short time and I don't want to take too much time, but there is a lot of information that you can find. I'm going to share a couple of links to you, and maybe when you get a chance, explore them. So to read more on the website that I've shared with you, there is a section called library, and where you can just search some terms, and there is a lot of blog posts or even podcast episodes that will come up, and this is all free information. Or you can go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and if you search Indu Arora, there is a lot of podcasts that are there where I talk about Ayurveda and yoga and how to understand and how to work on your practices. If this is of any help, this is all freely available information, and this is enough to start working.
So true. I think that is just such a beautiful perspective. And again, it comes back to so much of developing a search of the individuality. And I think one of the key points that has come through every line you have mentioned today is that it is the individual you are dealing with. And you have to see where is that individual today at this moment, what is happening in that individual at this very moment, and how does the practice need to be adapted to help that individual be where they need to be. This is such an important dynamic frame that is required for a teacher and a therapist. Because most of the time we have a tendency to say, this is the asana for that dosha, and this is the asana for this guna, and this is the asana for that disease. And I think this is where what you have suggested is so much of the training of the individual to pick up the cues in themselves. I think this is just such a beautiful perspective you have brought out. And in that context, Divya has another question. If a person is not comfortable in a particular posture or the pranayama, does it mean the doshas are imbalanced in that individual?
It may or may not mean that. See, the answer in yoga, at least the way I have understood or explored, is it depends. Everything is, it depends. It is not necessary that if I'm uncomfortable in, let us say, Sarvangasana, one of you asked about Sarvangasana, that is not necessary that it's only because of the dosha. Maybe it is a mental blockage, maybe it is a fear, maybe it is the lack of knowing the various options how to support the body when you are in that asana. Maybe it is the lack of integrating other practices that can help bring a sense of balance. So it's not that we are always right from the get-go looking for sukham. There has to be that readiness to go through what needs to be gone through and to work with solutions, to work out ways within that asana. That can also be an opportunity to work on our vikrutis. That can also be an opportunity to work on our vikalpas. That can also become an opportunity to face our fears. So it's not necessary that it is because one is not feeling comfortable that it is not for them. It's important. What does that discomfort means? Does that discomfort means dizziness? Absolutely get out of that asana. Does that means that you feel a congestion in your chest? Please do not practice that. But if you feel that, oh, I just do not feel comfortable, explore, open up the word. What is discomfort? How do I feel it? Break it down. There is a concept in Sanskrita grammar, sandhi vichhed, open it up. My teacher, the way I've learned from one of my gurus, my Diksha guru is Swami Veda Bharati. My Shiksha guru is Srimati Shashi Khosala, who lives in India, in Pune. She's 85 and still teaches. What I've learned from her is yoga is like bodhmas, brackets of, the division and subtraction and multiplication, addition, that first we have to remove the brackets, the limited mind, the mind that is posing all these challenges. Then we see what divides us. It is so important to see that there is mathematics in yoga. That eventual state of yoga is known by a number, shunya. There is There is spirituality in mathematics and there is mathematics in yoga. It's so important to utilize every challenge as a foundation for introspection and to know the difference, that this is not just an ordinary challenge. This is not something that I should challenge in my body. If I'm experiencing dizziness, if I'm experiencing palpitation, if I'm experiencing chest congestion, if I'm experiencing puking sensation, these are not to be challenged. So it's so important, again, to build discernment. It is the power in yoga lies with its interaction with the individual. Otherwise, it is just philosophy, words written in the text. It comes alive in us. And in order for it to be alive in us, we have to be present. We have to be true to the word that is used for human beings, prani. We have to be the living beings.
That was an amazing, amazing answer to that question and opened up more questions. But of course, we also have a time frame to look at. So I would like to express our gratitude, dear Indu, for this excellent session today and for, not only taking time out of your busy schedule, as is commonly said, but staying up beyond midnight to be with us and shine bright. As your name says, Indu, you have to shine bright, and it's on full moon Purnima is going on. So you are shining bright for us, the light. And as you so rightly say, it is the light of the gurus, the parampara, that shines through us. And so the moon doesn't have its own light, it's reflecting the sun's light. So true to your name, passing on the light of the illustrious teachers, the gurus, the parampara that you have grown up into. And the whole session today, I have been just thinking this is so much like listening to myself, because I know why I resonate with it, because it's just astonishing the way you perceive this interconnectivity. Most people think in boxes. Yoga is unboxed. It is totally unboxed and so vast. And today you have helped us drink of the waters of the ocean of yoga, getting a very beautiful taste, as you were suggesting, a parasympathetic taste, a nice sweet taste in the mouth from the relaxed learning we have had today. And thanking you for this, Indu. I